Oh my, it's been a while. Years, perhaps. I don't even know. Here we go with 432. A tidy young lady of street whore dearly loved to nibble a Peter. She always would say, I prefer it this way. I think it is very much neater. 1927 to 1941. December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy, but I digress. Here we go, 433. Old Louis Quatorze, or is it 14, was hot stuff. He tired of that game, blind man's bluff. Upended his mistress, kissed hers while she kissed his, and thus taught the world. I can't even pronounce this. 69. SOIXANTE-NEUF. Oh, it sounds French. No hablo francés, solo español. 434. There's a dowager near Sweden Landing, whose manners are odd and demanding. It's one of her jests to suck off a guest. She hates to keep gentlemen standing. Oh, the one before was 1943. This is 1952. What good manners, bless her heart. 435. There was a young girl, very sweet, who thought sailors' meat quite a treat. When she sat on their lap, she unbuttoned her... Oh my reading's terrible. Let's just do the whole thing over again. There once was a young girl, very sweet, who thought sailors' meat quite a treat. When she sat on their lap, she unbuttoned their flap, and always had plenty to eat. She must be a survivalist. She'll never go hungry. 1944 to 1952. 436. There was a young fellow named Taylor, who seduced a respectable sailor. When they put him in jail, he worked out the bail by licking the parts of the jailer. Very industrious. 1941. 437, here we go. There was a young lady, and what do you think? She said, I care not for a prick that don't stink, and I think that a fuck ain't so good as a suck. Ain't so good as a suck when you've pulled back the foreskin and covered the pink. The pink right, 1870. I wonder if there's some head cheese along with the pink. My hygiene is important. Never forget. Turning the page. 438. Have you heard of young Franchot Tone, or is it Tone, who felt of his... Oh, it must be Tone. Have you heard of young Franchot Tone, who felt of his own peculiar bone? It was long and quite narrow, and filled full of marrow, and less edible than stale corn pone. 1942. Oh, corn pone. That's a reference in Silence of the Lambs. If you remember that movie, or perhaps have read the book, he calls Clarice Starling corn pone pussy. Oh, what was his name? I'll have to look that up. Anyway. 439. A caddy named Tommy the Tough had an heiress way out in the rough. He said, what a swell fuck. Now let's you and me suck. Or as you uppercross say, this is the word again. Soice ain't enough. SOIXANT-noof. 1948. I'm too lazy to look it up. 440. There was an old lady of Troy who invented a new kind of joy. She sugared her quim and frosted the rim and then had it sucked by a boy. Almost sounds like a seasonal treat. 1879 to 1941. Oh, that goes back a ways. Oh my, what's happening with... Oh my, the screen went dark. I'm so nervous, even though I'm reading out of a book. There we go, 440. There was an old lady of Troy. Oh no, I just read that. 441. There was a young lady called Tucker, and the parson, he tried hard to fuck her. She said, you gay sinner, instead of your dinner at my cunt, Instead of your dinner at my cunt, you shall have a good suck. 1870. 442. There was a young Nello named... Yellow? Oh my, take two, this time with feeling. There was a young fellow named Tucker, who, instructing a novice cocksucker, said, "Don't bow out your lips like an elephant's hips. The boys like it best when they pucker." Good advice. 1934. Oh my hand's getting tired. I must be getting frail. 443. There was an old warden of Wadham. He was very much given to sodomy, but he shyly confessed, "I like tongue-fucking best. God bless my soul, isn't it odd of me?" Rhymes with sodomy. 1870. Oh my. Because it bears repeating, they were so naughty back then. 444. There was an old party of Wokingham, and his whore said he always was poking 'em, but all he could do was to tongue-fuck a few and sniff at his fingers while roking 'em. Well, he did what he had to do. 1870. There is a new Baron of Wokingham. The girls say he don't care for poking 'em, preferring Minette, or is it Minette, which is pleasant, but it's Minette. Preferring Minette, which is pleasant, but yet there is one disadvantage, his choking 'em. 1879. Oh, well. Turning the page. Oh, it's a new chapter. Chapter 5. Buggery. 446. Ooh. A whimsical Arab from Aden, his masculine member well laden, cried, "Nuptial That's not Arabian. That was a poor version of Indian. Bart, here we go. My neighbor Sam from Egypt. Nuptial... let's just stick with my own voice. Nuptial joy when shared with a boy is better than melon or maiden. Let's read it again without my mistakes. A whimsical Arab from Aden, his masculine member well laden, cried, "Nuptial joy when shared with a boy is better than melon or maiden." 1946. 447. A pederast living in Arles used to bugger the bung of a barrel, but was heard to lament, "In the old days I went up the blue-blooded bum of an Earl." Too bad, so sad. 1942. Oh my, I'm sniffing. Pardon me. Pardon my sniffages. Isms. 448. There was a young man of Arras who stretched himself out on the garris. No, Arras stretched himself out on the grass, and with no little trouble he bent himself double and stuck his prick well up his ass. Must be into yoga. 1941. 449. A convict once out in Australia said unto his turnkey, "I'll tell ya." But he said, "You be buggered, you filthy old sluggard. You're forgetting as I am your gowler." I probably mispronounced it. 1870. Gaoler. You can pronounce it properly. 450. There was a young man from Axminster, whose designs were quite base and quite sinister. His lifelong ambition was anal coition with the wife of the French foreign minister. Yeah, it's always good to have goals. 1950. 451, and all's well. A young man who lived in Balbriggan went to sea to recover from friggin', but after a week, as they climbed the forepeak, he buggered the mate in the riggin'. I like that one. So musical. 1942. Oh, look at this. Berries, berries, all kinds of berries. Chankers on her ass like hell. Why am I singing? Stop it. You're ruining it. Here we go again. 452. Berries, berries, all kinds of berries. Chankers, or is it cankers on her ass like California cherries. The first time I hit her, I nearly broke her shitter down where the Hassayampa flows. Oh, my goodness. Didn't rhyme, it just abruptly ended. 1927. On Moonlight Bay, here we go, 4:53. There was a young party of Bychester who wanted to bugger his sister, but not liking dirt, he bought him a squirt and cleaned out her arse with a clister. I think I like him. I think we could have been friends. 1879. Some night when you're drunk on Dutch bulls, try changing the usual roles. The backward position is nice for coition, coitus interruptus, more like brainus interruptus, is nice for coition, and it offers the choice of two holes. Boy, I ruined that up. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. 1947. Turning the page like Bob Seger. Turn the page, yeah. Here we are, 4:55. There was a young belle from Bombay who never had thought herself gay, till the queen from Siam said, "My dear, you're not jam," and brought that one out right away. Good on her. 1942. 4:56. There was a brave damsel of Brighton, whom nothing could possibly frighten. She plunged in the sea, and with infinite glee, was fucked in the ass by a Triton. So solid with the consonants. I love it. 1952. 4:57. As he lay in his bath, mused Lord Byng, "Oh, vimy, what memories you bring! That gorgeous young trooper, no, Gladys Cooper. By gad, sir, there wasn't a thing." 1945. Ooh, here we go. I know we just passed the Halloween season, but here we go with a related one. 4:58. Coitus upon a cadaver is the ultimate way you can have her. Her inanimate state means a man needn't wait and eliminates all the palaver. I like that one. Yes. Skip the small talk and let's get to it. 1940 to 1947. 4:59. There was a young man of Calcutta who thought he would do a smart trick, so anointed his take two, this time with feeling. I guess it pays to read in advance, which I do not. There was a young man of Calcutta who thought he would do a smart trick. Wait. Take three. There was a young man of Calcutta who thought he would do a smart trick, so anointed his arsehole with butter, and in it inserted his prick. It was not for greed after gold, it was not for thirst after pelf, 'twas simply because he'd been told to bloody well bugger himself. 1879, my reading was not very efficient. 460. Oh, I was GDI'd. I did not belong to a fraternity. A Fidelt known as Carruthers will never make little girls mothers. Around the old Brown, he is covered with down to wipe off the dongs of his brothers. I like that one. 1942. 461. There was a young man from Chabot. Ooh, it must be Chabot. There was a young man from Chabot who had a remarkable root. When hard it would bend with a curve at the end, so he fucked himself in the patoot. I like all the plosive sounds. 1942. 462. A person lived near Cremorne, looked down on all women with scorn. Ugh. E'en a boy's white fat bum could not make him come, but an old man's files gave him the horn. Oh, I like him. He's so dirty, kinky. 1879. Oh, I'm snorting again. Pardon me. 463. There was a young fellow named Dave who kept a dead whore in a cave. He said, I admit I'm a bit of a shit, but think of the money I save. 1927 to 1939. Well, Fiscal responsibility, living within one's means, is very important. Not that I should give any advice about finances. 464. There was a young Jew of Del Rey who buggered his father one day. He said, "I like rather to stuff it up father. He's clean and there's nothing to pay." 1879, 1928. I had no idea. Oh, here we go. 465. A depraved old Jew from Estreto buggered every young man in the ghetto. He once had his hose in a musician. Wait. Oh. Take two. A depraved old Jew from Estreto buggered every young man in the ghetto. He once had his hose in a musician composing who said, "Not so slow, allegretto." Oh, that was disgusting. Was that me? No, it was the stuffed bear to my right. Your manners are atrocious, bear. 1942. Pardon me, 1946. 466. A mortician who practiced in Fife made love to the corpse of his wife. "How could I know, Judge? She was so cold. She was cold, did not budge, just the same as she'd acted in life." He raises an excellent point, 1942. One time when I was in school and I was at my brother's, what's it called? Toga party, and then there was a young lady, and then we eventually consummated at the end of the evening, and she too laid still like a corpse. Very strange. 1942. 467. A glutted debauchee from Frome, lured beauteous maids to his room, where after he'd strip 'em, he'd generally whip 'em with a bundle of twigs or a broom. Well, anything handy, 1945. Here we go, 468. When she wanted a new way to futter, he greased her behind with butter. Then with a suck, in went his jock, and they carried her home on a shutter. 1927. Ooh, 469. There was a young pansy named Jean, hello, who cruised a sadistic marine. Said the man with a smirk, as they got down to work, "In this game the jack beats the queen." 1943. I like that one. Pardon me while I adjust the cover on the book. Remember books, the things made of paper and printed with ink? 470. There was a young lady of Glasgow, and fondly her lover did ask, "Oh, pray allow me a fuck," but she said, "No, my duck, but you may if you please up my arse-go." She had a very low voice. Almost reminds me of Harvey Firestein. Is it so wrong to want to be loved? George Song Trilogy, I believe. 1879, here we go, 471. I don't even know if I can spell this, and I'm looking at the letters. At the Iphigenia of Gluck, two ushers... Is that a play or a musical? At the Iphigenia of Gluck, two ushers attempted to fuck. At the blare of the brass, one contracted his ass, and they carted him off in a truck. Well, it's very, very generous of him to contract. Yes, more friction. 1947. There was an old man named Grasty, whose favourite sport was asty. He'd bugger with joy any innocent boy, but thought fornication was nasty. 1927. Oh my goodness, I won't be able to pronounce this, so bear with me. 473. A native of Havre de Grace, Havre, once tired of cunt said, "I'll try arse." Wait. Is Grace pronounced Grarse? I don't know. A native of Havre de Grace, once tired of cunt, said, "I'll try arse." He unfolded his plan to another young man who said, "Most decidedly, my arse." I ruined that, pardon. I apologize. 1879. 474. There was a young fellow named Howell. No, not Mr. Howell from Gilligan's Island, who buggered himself with a trowel. The triangular shape was conducive to rape and was easily cleaned with a towel. Sounds more like a tuck-pointing trowel to me. 1941. Turning the page. Here we go, 475. That ain't no jive. A prisoner in Chateau d'If ran around on all fours for a sniff of his comrade's posterior and said, "It's inferior, but it somehow reminds me of Quiff." 1942. 476. A sultan of old Istanbul. Istanbul, Constantinople. Name that band. A sultan of old Istanbul had a varicose vein in his tool. One more time. A sultan of old Istanbul had a varicose vein in his tool. This evoked joyous grunts from his harem of cunts, but his boys suffered pain at the stool. Sometimes you have to take one for the team. 1928 to 1949. 477. Said an airy young fairy named Jess, "The oral requires something else. While in method the anal is terribly banal, and the trousers will get out of press." Sacrifice you make a few wrinkles for pleasure. 1943. There I go snorting again. I must stuff something up into my nose holes. 478. A psychiatrist fellow, quite young, asked his wife, "May I bugger your bung?" And was so much annoyed when he found her a Freud, he went out in the yard and ate dung. Oh, that's awful. 1941. 479. There was a young Reb from Cadochus who had a hospitable tochus. His friends had no fear to attack from the rear, for he'd made it quite kosher with brooches. Or is it brooches? Oh, I don't know. Cadochus, toches, brooches? 1943. Moving on. 480. An embalmer in ancient Karnak. Oh, remember Karnak? Was that Johnny Carson? What show was that? It was a late-night show. I think it was Carson. Anyway, here we go. An embalmer in ancient Karnak oozed into it a fresh corpse's crack. Rigor mortis set in, and clamped off what had been his pride, nor did he get it back. Pardon me, 1942. Poor me. Now he's known as Stumpy. 481. There was a young fellow named Kelly, who preferred his wife's ass to her belly. He shrieked with delight as he plowed through the shite and filled up her hole with his jelly. And don't you know, I'll bet it was quite smelly. I added that last part, 1942. Goodness me, pardon me, the weather's terrible here, and so am I. 482. There was an old man of Kentucky. Said to his old woman, "I'll fuck ye." She replied, "No, you won't. Come anigh, my old cunt, for your prick is all stinking and mucky." 1870. Perhaps he needs a bath. Or at least his genitalia. Talia Shire. Yes. You know who her brother is. That's why she got the role in The Godfather. I'm not going to tell you who her brother is. 483, there was an old phony named Kinsey, whose idea of fucking were flimsy. He knew how to measure a penis for pleasure, but he came too much in a quimsy. But he came too much in a quim. But he came too much in a quimsy. 1952. 484. There was a young man from Liberia who was forced to flee to the interior. He'd buggered a brother, his father and mother. He considered his sisters inferior. Oh, 1947. Oh, to 1952. We are about to hit page number 100. Oh my goodness, if I can manage to turn the page. Oh, a lovely paper. Here we go, page 100. 485. A youth who seduced a poor lighterman. A youth who seduced a poor lighterman said, "I'd much sooner fuck than I'd fight a man. And although, sir, I find you're a very good grind, I must say I've had a much tighter man." 1870. Oh, perhaps he did a little too much action into his nethers. Loosey-goosey, I would call him that. Here we go. 486. Okay, mind you, this is from a long time ago, so don't get all emotional at the N-word. There, I'm warning you. Plug your ears if you're sensitive to the N-word. This is what they said back in the olden days. A young nigger boxer, Joe Louis, who buggered a bastardly Jewess, he said with a sigh, and let me do the whole thing. I ruined it. Take 2. 486. A young nigger boxer, Joe Louis, who buggered a bastardly Jewess, he said with a sigh as his engine went dry, "I wonder where all of my goo is." 1939. Okay, don't get upset, just consider the era. There we go, now everybody's happy. Almost everybody. 487. There was a young mate of a lugger who took out a girl just to hug her. "I've my monthlies," she said, and a cold in the head, but my bowels work well. Do you bugger? 1928. 488. There was a young man of Madras who was having a boy in the grass. Then a cobra capello said, "Hello, young fellow," and a bit... Oh, I didn't know cobras could speak. There was a young man of Madras who was having a boy in the grass. Then a cobra capello said, "Hello, young fellow," and bit a piece out of his ass. Spelled arse. 1928. 489. There was a young priest from... Oh, my goodness. There was a young priest from Madrid who looked with lewd eyes on a kid. He said with great joy, "I could bugger that boy. I'll be damned if I don't." And he did. 1927 through 1939. Oh, let's stop for the moment. We'll stop on the 100th page. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for listening. It's been so long. I will do my best to continue and eventually finish this book. My goodness, how many pages? How many pages is in this book? It's a very long book. No, you don't. Now I'm starting to sound like James Gum from Silence of the Lambs. Yes, you did, Princess, you do. Or at least my poor version. My goodness, you should see the cliff notes, the sightings in the back of the book. Oh, my goodness. Well, around 400 pages was what we'll eventually have to get through. Oh, no, less than that, perhaps 350. Oh, wait, the bibliography. It's been a while since I've been out of school. 357, that is the goal for the final page. Again, thank you for listening.